Test, test.
Did you hear that, Laura? Okay, great. All right.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Laura.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Once again, those of you that are on the call-in part of the program, if you will, keep in mind, please mute your phone so we can limit the feedback on the calls, unless you're addressing the board. Let's do a roll call.
Yes. Andy Allen,
Here.
Mark Brudd,
Here.
Benny Jones,
Here.
Jennifer Ransom,
Here.
Bree Smith,
Here.
Ronnie Tickle,
Here.
and Keith Whittington.
Here. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion.
Moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Approval of the minutes. I don't think the minutes from the last meeting are ready yet.
Not yet. I'll have them by the next meeting.
Okay, we'll postpone that to the next meeting. Let's go right ahead and get into the license reviews, the hardships. Can I get a motion to ratify the hardships?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And the initial contractor apps, the waived interviews. Can I get a motion to accept the waived interviews?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Motion carries. Contractor revisions. We've got increases, add class, mode, and name change. Can I get a motion?
I move for approval, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Then we've got the LLEs, the LLPs, and the home improvements. Do we group all have any discussion through any of those?
Go ahead and group those, and the other LLEs can be on the factors that you discuss.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I do have a question on the waived applicants. I've only got one page of them. I think there's a whole lot more than that.
is only one page, that being number 5 in the stapled together folder that we got.
Receive it by email. Did y'all review the email with the?
That would have been from Kathy.
Right.
Oh yeah, there's several pages of them there.
We approved all the pages.
I would assume we did, just because we don't have it here. We've got it. Good catch, Mark. Make sure we're doing it right. Can I get a motion to approve the LLE, LLPs, and the home improvements?
I don't believe there were any LLPs. Is there any?
The LLEs and the home improvements.
I'll move for approval.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries. Now we'll get into the applications with factors.
Fact that you need.
It should be front and back. 15. I've got page 15 and 16 on mine.
16 and 17.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is Strata Solar Systems. It's a QA that has a felony. I did review this file, looked it over thoroughly, and it was, pretty clear that the guy has changed since all of this went down many, many years ago. I think in 2005 was when this happened, and served his complete sentence, was released, and I moved to approve the add to QA to Strata Solar System Services.
Keith, just for the record, I'd just like to mention that the board does have discretion to deny this, and that it should be considered under the Fresh Start Act because it was a felony conviction. And as you indicated, some of the factors in determining this time, its current status in society, as well as the other factors. If the board would like to discuss it on the record, I can provide additional information, or you can move so to approve it.
You're going to approve one at a time or try to take them all?
There's just 2.
For these 2, we're going to do them one at a time.
Okay.
I second Keith's recommendation upon the Strata Solar application and approve it without.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the add QA to Strata Solar System or Services LLC. Is there any discussion?
What was his felony again?
It was
Manslaughter.
manslaughter.
Got it.
He was also convicted of possession of a Schedule II
Right.
substance, which is a felony.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries. Now the next one is a new application for a CE license. It is the organization is M&D Tech LLC. The QA is a Michael Lester Hill. He was convicted of child rape in 2004. He served a 10-year sentence, released in 2015. So,
If just again for the record, the board does have discretion to deny this one under 62.6-118, and in considering that the Fresh Start Act is also applicable. And I can go through those factors if that's something the board would like to discuss on the record.
Didn't see many details on You know, on the other one, it was family members and what I didn't see many details on what happened here, but I'll listen to your suggestions, Mr. Chairman.
And I'd love to hear our options.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So we'll go through the factors, and I believe the applicant should be on the line. Is that correct, Carolyn?
Yes.
And the board is willing to discuss that with the applicant if you have any questions specifically for them. But the factors that the board can consider are the nature and seriousness of the crime. This is a Class B felony, rape of a child. The length of time since the commission of the crime. I believe Reese indicated that this individual was convicted in 2004. They were sentenced to 12 years in prison. They served 11 years, I believe, and they completed their sentence in 2015, and they're currently under supervised release. The next factor is the relationship between the nature of the crime and the purpose of regulating the occupation. The board would be has better expertise on how this crime affects, having a contractor's license, and you guys can definitely discuss that on the record if you would like. Also, the relationship between the crime and the ability, capacity, and fitness required to perform the duties and discharge of the responsibilities of the occupation, profession, or trade. Any evidence of rehabilitation, I think the applicant might be more willing to speak on that. I believe in their application they did provide that they attended classes and got certification for those classes as well. And then any applicable federal laws, particularly. I mean, this is, like I mentioned, this is a Class B felony. It is within the board's discretion if they would like to deny this application. And if the applicant is on the line, I'm not sure if they would like to speak to the board directly, but this would be the time to do so.
Liz, can you just briefly summarize the Fresh Start law?
Sure. So determining whether an application can be denied based upon a finding of a criminal conviction, which in this case, as I mentioned, the conviction is found, the board has the discretion under TCA 62-6-118 to deny any applicant who has been denied of a felon or been convicted of a felony. So in considering whether this applicant should be denied, the Fresh Start Act lists various factors to consider. I just went through those. I can happily go through those again. Those factors include the nature and seriousness of the crime, the length of time between the commission of the crime, the relationship between the crime and the purpose of regulating this occupation, the relationship between the crime and the ability to perform this occupation, any evidence of rehabilitation or treatment undertaken by the applicant, and any applicable federal laws. And that is codified in Title 62, Chapter 76, Part 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Will this applicant be conducting residential work?
The license he's applying to includes residential work.
Can I ask for the record who's speaking on the line?
Yes, that's I do new homes. We do new buildings, and like insurance. I work for some insurance. Anyway, some GCs that do insurance jobs. So it's homes that's not occupied, and new businesses, commercial, and also do industrial. I have 21 years experience with Maytag prior. So I've got all kinds of experience and everything. And I know my limits. I've been through the counseling, and I know where to go and where not to go. That's and actually it's I'm on parole. It's not probation.
We're still on parole?
It's on parole, yes. Not probation, but it's parole.
This license wouldn't limit him to new construction as it's presented.
Right.
No, it's a full CE, so he should be able to do any type of electrical. That could be electrical repair in a home, in a place of business, for that matter, a church. I don't know about with him being on parole for this particular crime, whether or not he could be around school children at a school zone. That particularly seems a little troublesome.
Actually, I'm sorry.
Who's speaking?
Yes. The charge actually was a rape charge and had a lesser included charge of rape of a child, because they were saying and pushed it through that it was the victim was younger, but she was not.
Yeah, Mr. Hill, the letter that you included with your application didn't really kind of spell out some of the details, so we're kind of left to our own devices to determine what happened. I mean, is that something you want to elaborate on, or just kind of leave it with what you wrote in your letter? It was somewhat vague about the actual incident.
Yes, it was a stepdaughter, and we just
Identifying the parties.
We're not gonna.
Her name was Jennifer G.
Mr. Hill.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Can we please not identify any victims on the record, please?
Sure. Sure. There was no force, it was mutual, and she was 13. And it was just kind of started just playing around, just wrestling around, and not intentionally going in that direction, but it did. I'm sorry that I can't change the past, but that's not me. It's not my lifestyle to look for children. It's not me. I'm a Christian man, and I've learned a lot. I have actually gained 2 degrees in theology since my time in prison.
Mr. Hill, I think Mr. Smith kind of spoke to the matter, but could you speak on any evidence of rehabilitation or any treatment that you've undertaken since your conviction, any programs that you may have participated in?
I'm not sure if it's in the paperwork or not, but I had the mandatory counseling for several years, sex offender treatment programs that I completed. We go to church at Church of God Church. I recently, almost 2 years ago, I remarried, and have a lot of help, a lot of support right there from people, and as well as a lot of my friends are retired pastors and their wives that I help them out. Knowing they're retired pastors and things don't make much money, so I just voluntarily help them. And I can give you their names. They're willing to talk to you, tell you who I am, and what type of person I am.
Are you on the sex offender list?
Sex offender registry, yes.
Registry, okay. How do you know if you're going into a residential, whether there's young people there or not?
Well, I speak to the owners, and for who I'm working for right now, which is Benson Meyer Electric, they're very aware of who's at the houses, and when somebody's going to be there, when they're not going to be there. So I don't do a lot of residential. I do more commercial work. We do restaurants. We're doing a Scenic City OBGYN in Chattanooga. I've done a tropical smoothie in Pigeon Forge. I travel. I've been to Pigeon Forge. I've been to Nashville working, Mount Juliet. We did all these grocery stores.
Mr. Mr. Hill, are
more
you
from other.
currently employed?
Yes.
Is there any reason to doubt that you could maintain your current employment if this license were to be denied?
No.
What is the point of you getting this license, Mr. Hill?
That's an advancement. You know, I always love to learn. I just don't stop at getting my journeyman's. Just keep advancing, keep learning.
Do you plan on operating your own business?
Yes, and I'm 56, and it's looking, you know, I'm kind of looking toward retirement. Having that to see, you know, when I got out, if I had not had a brother to help me, I wouldn't have had anything. I lost everything, and a lot of family turned against me, and wasn't willing to help me. And with that, I got back on my feet, and I've proved my ability to work and my willingness. And with that, you know, I don't have to worry about trying to find another job if anybody would hire me with a felony like that. I would have the job, and I wouldn't be on the street, you know, letting the taxpayers keep me up. I'm not like that. Plus, I can help community, help, you know, hire others. At the time being, just getting started, trying out a business by myself with support of my wife. I mean, she's a office manager. She's been in banking for years, and she's a big help, big support. But you know, I plan to expand and hire others that maybe other people wouldn't hire to help and, you know, train.
What type of work do you anticipate you'll be bidding on and completing?
New houses. I've already have calls on those. There's several GCs. And commercial work, when I do that, I mean, I've done conduit, I've done all different types of work, and I'm more of a technician. So I'm trying to get more into controls, that type of thing.
Anyone else have any questions? Thoughts from any members of the board?
He's on parole. Doesn't that disqualify him from a license? Don't you have to be off parole?
Our statute just indicates that if they were convicted of a felony, it's within the board's discretion, whether or not that would limit him from jobs in the actual field practice, but doesn't state whether.
I think in the past, if they're on parole, most of the time we've, if I'm not mistaken, denied until that was completed.
That's correct.
When do you get off parole, Mr. Hill?
That'd be, let's see, I was released in 2015, and if it was regular SRO, I'd be off in 4 years. But they put the CSL on me 10 days before I got out, and which is supervision, and that's 15 years. That'd be 2030. And, you know, from what I understood, it's if you're on probation, you know, I couldn't do this. But now parole, and with a, you know, a felony, I understood that you could have it. I'd actually talked to my parole officer about it.
Could you repeat, Mr. Hill, I'm going to let our board's attorney explain that again to you about the parole.
Yeah, so our statute indicates that the board may refuse to issue a license to any individual who has been convicted of a felony. And while it does not necessarily speak to whether or not an individual can have an application on, or be granted an application on parole, how that, if, you know, I know that there are certain restrictions and I can't speak to them on behalf of the board, but that may limit the license ability in the actual practice of.
That would pretty well, that would mean if I was denied, then there was no possibility of me getting a license. So I'll be like 65 years old.
That's correct.
So then just. It's discretion. Right, it's your discretion, it's the board's discretion, correctly? Is that, am I correct?
Correct, yes. Under the statute, it's the board's discretion whether or not to deny an applicant who has a conviction of a felony.
Right. Okay, I understand that. I'm just trying to, and I'm always been a worker, and I made my mistakes, and like I said, I can't go back, but you know, I'm just trying to go forward from here, and I'm not bothering anybody, and anybody that knows me, I can give you 20 names if you want to. People tell you who I am, and I'll do anything for anybody, you know. So, I'm just asking for favor.
What is your typical, I guess, check-in time with your parole person? Do you do that every so often, or?
It's quarterly, every 3 months.
Any other questions from anyone on the board?
I don't know if anybody, you know, ran into this situation before, or have any family members that's been in trouble before. You know, I know that, you know, the Bible says we all fail, come short of the glory of God. We've all sinned, and I've been forgiven. I know that. I mean, my life's changed because I wasn't raised in church, but when you lose everything, there's only one place to look, and that's up. And I'm just asking any of you, you know, find it in your hearts to give me a chance.
Board members, any other questions? Any thoughts or a motion?
What's the monetary limit? Are they two different?
125,000
Both
that he's requesting.
commercial and, yeah,
It's electrical.
right.
CE.
100,000.
25?
That's 100,000 on the most request.
$125, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Hill, legal has one question.
Yeah.
Are there any restrictions on your parole that you could provide to the board just as background information?
Restrictions, I don't, you know, I can't go into a school. Now, we have built a school before it becomes a school. Playgrounds and things like that. That's the main thing. It was not being in a school or around. I can't be alone with anyone under 18. That's the main restriction.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Probably have a little problem with turning this gentleman loose in a residence. If something happened and they came back to this board, I'm not sure what our answer would be.
My thought process right now is he's got an employer to look out for him. As a business owner, all of us know that it's up to you whether, there's nobody looking out for you. And right now there is a buffer between him and the client that I appreciate.
The main thing on this, when I first got out, there was a guy that worked for me because I was a leader in the facilities department and maintenance department at Maytag. And so he gave me that opportunity to come to work for him. And I worked for him for a year. And because it's difficult to find work out here. And the employer I'm working for now, Benson Meyer, is he's ran into some problems because we had a job called the Loft in Chattanooga, and had everything set up to do the work and started actually, and it burnt down. So it hurt him, and he's laid a bunch of people off, and it was just about possibility may go out of business. So I mean, he's a good guy. But if he goes out of business, then I'm stuck trying to find another job as well. Like I said, the majority of my work, I'm more of a technician. I work with computers and robots, and that type of work is what I really like. And that's what I'm trying to shoot for, actually, more commercial and industrial. And new houses. It's not, like I said, the only restriction is not being alone with a minor. And I'm never alone with a minor. There's always someone with me, always working.
Okay, Mr. Hill, thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Any other comments from board members? Jennifer or Benny, do you all have a comment?
I would be hesitant for any issues to come back on this board. This is really not all, not clear to me. I don't see how we can do it.
I think I agree with that. I think my concern would be, residential work, even if that's not what he does mostly now, as well as just, there's no duty to disclose once he's a sole proprietor. There's no duty to disclose any information. So for us to grant this, if something did happen and it came back, that would be a very difficult situation to deal with.
I'm actually, that's the type of work I do now. I mean, that's everything that I'm doing now would be the same thing I would be doing.
Here again, though, Mr. Hill, there's someone else to pick up that liability in the event that something did happen. If it comes out to be on your own, I think the board's got a concern that that liability would fall back toward the board for granting you that ability to allow that to happen. That's what the board is considering.
Yes. Now, is there, under the CE as well, is there a way to limit and not to keep me from doing the residential?
No, sir, there's no limits on the CE. The CE makes you a fully licensed electrician to practice the trade in any class of work for electrical.
So what would I have to do to get clear to be able to do that, though? That just cuts me out completely? So I'd never be able to get my own contractor's license?
Well, if that's the will of the board, that's what we are debating right now. And if you'll just be patient, we'll get through this debate here in a minute and have a motion to decide.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Andy, our electrical member, do you have a comment or a motion?
I mean, the only comment is we're taking his buffer away. The only other license he could obtain is an LLE license, which would more encourage residential work. So that would be backing up. This definitely backing up from this one. But I make a motion to deny just because I do not like the idea of taking his supervisor away from him.
Got a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any comments that anyone would like to make from the board? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Then the motion to deny is passed.
Is there any appeal?
Mr. Hill, this doesn't bar you from reapplying in the future. We would go through a similar analysis. If you were to come back at a later date, you're more than welcome to reapply. This doesn't bar you from applying for a license with us.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Now, that's what we have on the agenda. Did we have one other item?
A factors list.
Yes.
We do have one other felony. Do they need to discuss it?
Which one was that?
I think that was a drug charge. Best I remember reading that. Yeah, it was a drug charge. He served his time, and I'm best of my memory that's done and complete. So my recommendation was to approve.
I believe that's all the felonies for discussion, and then we have more on the factors list.
Okay.
I think creative design is the next one on the list for increase, and they have projects over their current limit, and you recommended a $2,000 civil penalty.
On that page.
The 14. My pages are off.
Okay. Yeah, that's creative design and construction and remodeling. They did have projects listed over their limit. And as Carolyn said, I did propose a $2,000 civil penalty. And once that civil penalty is satisfied, then we can approve the license. And then we have Tip Top Construction. This is a request for a new contractor's license. They have past complaints. Yes, sir. Are they satisfied on those complaints?
Yes, sir. This is Jason Fox. They have been satisfied. My attorney wrote the paperwork up and sent it to the board as well as requested. I believe it was Mrs. Catherine Holloman, if I'm correct, sir, and I cannot remember her name, and I do apologize for that. I don't remember off the top of my head. Everything was satisfied 100%, and I paid my fee and sent in the correct documentation that was requested from your board, sir.
Jesse, I'm asking, are the complaints with the board settled?
What I'm seeing on the legal report from one of the previous cases, this was from March 31st, 2020. There was a case involving, I believe, the other licensed entity, and that case was closed and flagged. I believe that is still open. There was not a previous recommendation in terms of any civil penalty. It was just closed and flagged, I believe, due to his license having expired at that time. And I can pull that complaint number real fast just to confirm that with.
Am I correct in understanding the name of that business was Paisley Design?
That is correct. That was the name. Yes, sir.
And did you bankrupt that company?
Yes, sir.
And has that bankruptcy all been discharged?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. Did everyone get that? The file.
I believe you're the only one that received the whole file.
And everything that was requested, sir. My attorney sent everything to you guys as far as that, and the complaints have been cleared and dismissed through the courts.
Now, what complaints are you speaking of as far as lawsuits?
Yes, sir.
And
Those
how were
have been
they
cleared?
cleared?
And the complaints were. I'm so sorry. I interrupted. Ask me again, sir.
How were those complaints cleared?
They were withdrew from my. I won't say names. They were withdrew from the clients at that time, and my attorney has. There was 3. They've all been cleared, and if I had them here in front of me, and I do not, I can pull them up on email, but I do have all that documentation here, and they were all sent to. They were basically withdrew from my clients. And I can explain more if need be, sir. Ask me again. I'm sorry, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Why were they withdrawn?
The first complaint I had, it was, again, withdrawn from my client. We finished the project. There were several $1,000s owed to me. And when they put the complaint in, my attorney went back after them, suing them for several things and money owed to me. She then backed out and withdrew. And I have that court paperwork as well. The second one was withdrawn from a similar situation. I was owed $12,000. I sent the final bill in. Again, the complaint was put against us for improper or a couple of code violations, I believe, sir, meaning the first code violation was a framing violation, which was there was a couple things missing. We did correct that in full, and I did have the paperwork. It was all passed final inspection, and that one was withdrew from Mr. Rodriguez, I believe his name was.
I saw some of the work, the pictures of some of the work in this file that I was given, and it was really quite substandard. Did Mr. Rodriguez?
And that was during the demo stage.
If you don't
no,
mind,
so that was during the demo stage. Oh, yes, sir.
Did Mr. Rodriguez have to hire a different contractor to remedy that job?
Mr. Rodriguez had one of my guys go back and complete what was done. I myself pulled off of the project. He hired one of my guys to go back and paid him separately.
So in
to
other
finish.
words,
But those pictures were submitted.
Project.
my company, no, sir.
And then there was a question of another job that I saw in this file that was a mobile home that you did renovations for, and you started the project and then abandoned the project and left one mess.
That's the same
completely
gentleman.
stripped the interiors and the exterior walls and left the debris and everything in the yard and didn't finish.
No, sir. That was during the demo when we could not get a dumpster in time. When I pulled off the job, everything was reframed. The windows were put back in on that project. And again, when I withdrew, because money owed to me, he had one of my guys go and finish that project. Almost 100% completion. He finished the last, probably, I don't know, maybe 1 week's worth of maybe 40 man hours worth of work that was done. He actually told the guy that I had working for me at that time he will go ahead and finish, in which he did.
Seems like we're running into a pattern here, though, of you starting projects and getting complaints from your client or customer and then not finishing the project, and then you file bankruptcy with that company. And just in my opinion, I'm not very inclined to grant you a new license to authorize you to go back out and do other clients the same way again.
Out of the three, that was the one time, and I withdrew from that project because money that was owed to me. Again, that was $12,000, sir. I was not getting paid, so I withdrew from that project.
But you filed bankruptcy.
Correct.
When was the bankruptcy?
I'm so sorry. Ask me again, sir.
What year was the bankruptcy?
December of 2018, I believe, sir.
Are we sure of that?
If I have just a minute, sir, I can pull it up on email. I still have all my documentation.
We'll give you a minute to do that.
Thank you so much.
We'll add, looking at core, I believe a question that Mr. Whittington asked about a previous complaint. There are 3 closed and flagged complaints against Paisley in core. Those have not been satisfied as they were closed and flagged. Looked like some of the reasoning was due to that bankruptcy and the license having expired. So I did want to clear that for the record.
And they were cleared?
They were not. They were closed and flagged, and it looked like the reasoning was due to that bankruptcy and the license having expired. One of them was initially a $1,000 civil penalty authorized through a consent order for unlicensed activity for a project that was undertaken before he received that license. That case was closed and flagged. The other 2, I believe you mentioned one of the complainants having a civil case involving that one. That one is closed and flagged due to his license having expired and not being renewed.
But he never paid any fee to us.
Not to the board. It does not appear so, no.
Did his license expire?
March of 2019, I believe.
Dennis Gregory for the agency. And just to follow on what Jesse was saying, one of the more practical reasons for the closures and flags was given the fact that the license had expired and the bankruptcy, we had, as a practical matter, decided to close and flag these. So the applicant has been back to the board since that time. I believe met with Commissioner Paris.
Jerry Hayes.
Commissioner Hayes, and
Sure.
he denied that at that time. So this would be, I guess, the second opportunity. Okay.
If I'm understanding correctly, they're still open fines against him that were not paid?
Well, since they were closed and flagged, they would have to be reopened.
Correct.
And new authorizations. But that at least one of those cases, the initial authorization was to settle it with a $1,000 penalty, and that was not paid. That case was represented to be closed and flagged due to the license having expired at that point.
Are we going to try to start all over again?
So he had penalties, let his license expired. We forgot those penalties, and now he's reapplying for a new license.
That's correct. So that's one of the reasons why we flag the licenses, so that way when they do reapply, that initial case is brought back to the board.
Brings us to today.
Sorry to interrupt. This is Valerie Fox. We didn't get any penalties or anything. We didn't let our license expire. We actually reapplied, and then we came to Nashville and we met with the board, and they said because there was complaints and things like that, we had to settle those. So we went back with our lawyer. We did everything that we were supposed to, and then we came back and we reapplied. Now this was last year that we reapplied, and I don't know if because of COVID, everything. Yeah, it was like right around when COVID was really kicking in. We reapplied, and we were waiting on hearing everything, and I don't know if everything just kind of got pushed to the wayside. But we didn't hear anything back. No phone calls, no emails, no nothing. So we kept trying to follow up, and then Jason has 5 emails that he had sent, and we didn't get any response or anything for them. So we really kind of pushed to contact somebody this time to try and see, what's going on, what's the holdup and everything, because we talked to our lawyer and everything was taken care of with all of these cases, and I think he sent everything over that we needed that was requested. So we were just confused on what's going on. But like I said, we didn't get anything for any fines or anything like that at all.
If so, I'll be more than happy to pay them. I just did not receive it.
We did not receive anything. We didn't get any correspondence on that. So I'm not sure where the fines are coming in, because we've never, we've always gotten our inspections and everything. So I'm not sure what's going on.
And may I add something to my wife's statement there? The reason for that bankruptcy, that very first job we done, we were owed $32,000. I owed 84 lumber, almost $13,000, and then another $4,000 for roofing material, which included shingles, tar paper. There were several. I think it was almost $19,000 or $20,000. I do not have the exact dollar amount in front of me, but that is the biggest reason. That client owed us $32,000, and I have that paperwork. And they added a driveway, added this and that, and I should have pulled off of that job. Once we finished that job, and I mean finished it, we stained the outside of the cabin. That job was a turnkey project. Once that was completed, I did not get that final draw, and that's one of the biggest reasons for bankruptcy. Not to per se, avoid or screw anybody. That was, I could not afford at that time to pay all of that money when I did not get my last draw from that client.
You sued that client?
Countersued them, yes. That's when they backed completely out of everything, acknowledging that they do owe me money. And that's when the complaint was withdrawn from them through the courts and through the board.
Did you receive
we were 15
ordered payment from the court for the monies that you were owed?
No, we could not afford to continue is what I'm trying to say. We're a small company. We had kids. We actually had to sell our house and everything because of that, because we spent $15,000 in 1 year on lawyer fees alone just to try and do this. So we could not continue to, with 2 children that I just had a son who was 1 year old, and then I just had another baby, and I have a stepdaughter and stuff. And so we could not afford to continue to shell out money for these cases. And so our lawyer suggested, because we had the kids and everything, and we were trying to keep our head above water at that point and feed them and take care of ourselves, we actually sold our house and everything. Because of these clients. And because of all these lawyer fees and everything. So we struggled because, you do something for somebody and they tell you at the end when they don't want to pay that, you know, oh, this was terrible, that was terrible. Well, why did you keep adding things to the job? Why did you ask us to, and we have so many pictures, why did you keep adding stonework? Why did you add a driveway? Why did you tell us to deliver $5,000 worth of appliances that we paid for? Why did you want us to do your fireplace inside? Why did you want us to do a beautiful wrought iron railing on top of your stone? If everything was so terrible, why did you keep adding and adding and adding and then not want to pay for it?
Let me ask you a question.
Contract amount.
Let me ask you a question. Why would you go forward if you never got paid? That's not very good business.
We don't. Well, what we do is we do a draw. And when somebody tells us, and we have the text messages from them, oh, I'll meet you here on this day with the draw. Well, okay, we were here this day. Why didn't you come here? Okay, well, I'll meet you on Monday. I got held up. I'll meet you on Monday with this money. And we were supposed to have a weekly draw. And then they just kind of decided that they wanted to just wait. Well, we still have to pay our guys. So we're patient and we do work with our clients. And we understand sometimes that they might not get paid on a certain day or they don't have all the money. We're very kind to people. We do small jobs for people and let them pay us in a little while. But this was, a decent contract, and so we were continuing. We wanted to finish it for them. Like I said, we're an honest company. We want to move forward. But at that point, we just couldn't. We had to say, okay, if you're not going to pay us, then we're done. And that's when they got mad. And so then everything was just terrible. And
you should have had change orders and initial the change orders. And before you move forward, you're asking for another license, and we don't want you to get in the same problem that you were before. Have you learned anything from that?
Oh, sir, yes. Can I tell you what we learned? I have a whole list of stuff that we learned, and I will not make that mistake again. So, I mean, I won't even so much as allow him to change the color of something without a change order and in writing, from here on out, if we start this over again. So I practically make them take a permission slip to Lowe's to pick out a paint color for our own house. So it's been a lot, and that was really eye-opening to what people can do. And like I said, we were a small company, we had kids, and so we couldn't continue to shell out the lawyer fees and stuff, $5,000 for this, $1,800 to go and fill out this paperwork and send it here. And I'm just bawling my eyes out, sitting at home, how am I going to feed my kids this week if we keep this up? So had to just let go and let God. And we decided to just let them forget it. And we sold our house to make ends meet. And that's just what we had to do. And
what have you been doing in the meantime to make ends meet?
I've actually, I have a design thing that I do. I make children's night lights and things like that. And my husband is ex-military, so he gets money each month from that. So we don't have any bills. I'm very frugal. I don't go out and spend a lot of money or do anything like that. So we've been very fortunate to be able to, take care of our family just on that stuff.
Let them know too. To add to Valerie's statement, I am a veteran. I'm 100% rating. As of 2 months ago, they just approved it. So I do get a retirement on the first of each month with a 2% increase every single year from being in the military 4 years when I was younger. And, that definitely supplements anything that I haven't been doing with a $3,700 a month payment plus my wife's employment. We do, we get by. But, of course, I want better for my children. Again, I will not make the same mistake twice. We're adopting a baby girl from my cousin. Very long story, but I want what's best for my kids. I want to be able to retire at a decent age and, again, I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I learned from my mistakes, and I want to move forward.
What are the limits on this application?
He qualified for $82,000 in 2019. He had a BCAR restricted license with a $125,000 limit on Paisley. but I don't believe it stayed within his limit. I think they got him for unlicensed activity. I think
It was before he was granted the license was the first one.
And then there was another one where I think the contract was $168,000.
So this is a new application with a current financial statement, less than a year old.
No, it's old. It's from 2019 is the last application we had from him. And back then it qualified for $82,000. So he would need a new application if y'all approved him to reapply.
I'd like to make a motion to reopen the closed cases. We flag them for a reason. So let's reopen those, get those satisfied, and then we could allow him to come back to this exact same situation after those are closed.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, the motion is to reopen the closed complaints, have those revisited, settled, and closed, and then the applicant will, if cleared of those and those are satisfied, the applicant will file a new application for licensing. Any additions or corrections to that? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. The next item up on the applications with factors is 65474 Celtic Manor Homes. They're applying for an increase. They listed, looks like 5 projects that were over their limit, and it's a proposed $1,000 civil penalty for each violation for a total of $5,000. The next one is 59475. They're making payments on a consent order, and I made a recommendation to approve it once that consent order is satisfied. 63462. They had projects listed. They were applying for an increase, and they had projects listed that were not in their current class. And so I propose a $5,000 penalty for contracting out of their class. 63760. This is an increased request. They had projects over their limit, 3 of them at $1,500 per project for a total of $4,500. I don't know if that was mine or all the rest of them have been, so it probably was. It just didn't.
Just didn't print.
47447. They're applying for, I assume, an increase. They've got an open complaint, and I said to hold this one until we get that complaint satisfied. 61712 had projects over their limit. Proposing a $3,000 civil penalty for those projects over limit. And then 9897 is a home improvement license, and I'm proposing a $500 civil penalty for contracting without a license, and once that's satisfied, then we can issue the license. Can I get a motion and a second to approve our actions as a board with the applications with factors?
Motion.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed likewise. Motion carries. I guess we're to the legal report now.
I think this is our first meeting back in person with the legal report, so I haven't heard any suggested changes from this yet, so if we would like to start. I'm not sure who had the first section of cases, but we could go on the line. Okay.
I understand that you had no, Mr. Smith, you had no changes to 1 through 31, I believe.
I had two, and that was number 69 and 71 that I wanted to request a change on, and that was to make the civil penalty $500 for each one of those. I think you guys had listed $250, so just increase that to $500 if you don't mind. Ronnie, did you have any?
I started at 32, and I can't believe I didn't have anything to tell y'all. Y'all did a very good job. I do have one question. I saw a couple of these that had like 2017. I thought we were caught up, and I can't remember what they were. A couple 2017s.
They were ones that were represented. It may have been one that we had been negotiating settlement.
Well, y'all did a real good job.
Thank you. We have quarterly meetings with Ms. Lazenby as well as our other attorneys. We've got a lot of those old cases resolved, either settled or if facts have changed. So we've been trying to take care of those old ones. Thank you.
I'm not sure if this fell into your grouping, Mr. Whittington, but on number 46, this would be 2021-02-8021.
That would be Ronnie.
Okay, Ronnie. This was one that I was going to ask. We got new information literally yesterday from the complainant. Probably does warrant us doing a little bit extra look, just take a second look at it. So I know my recommendation was to close, so I'm just asking that we be able to
take it out better.
Yes.
Okay. No problem.
All the legal report. Was there any commercial?
Or some commercial.
There were commercial ones on here. I have not heard any changes for any of the commercial projects. Have you heard any, Mr. Gregory?
I have not, except under the LLEs. Mr. Allen, I think I'd ask you use your expertise on that one specifically. Number 102 has to deal with or deals with
breaker trip.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll give it to you that one. And I mean, the panel was 45 years old, so it probably did need replacing. I can't see that it didn't for any reason, so I see no fault there. The hot tub itself, it sounds like, had a faulty circuit board in it, which would not be the responsibility of the electrician. That would be an appliance person to fix that, and did. But I did not understand that the very last part of that was he had to spend an additional $1,500 on another electrician to fix the respondent's work. But in the entire synopsis, I see nothing. He got it inspected. It was passed. I see nothing wrong with the respondent's work, so I didn't understand that.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot that, other than just that statement that he made, that's the only, otherwise it wouldn't even have been in there, but he just threw that in there sort of at the end.
Yeah, I see nothing wrong with just closing this one.
Okay.
Hey, can I get a motion to approve the legal report?
Motion.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries. Yes, sir.
It's sort of welcoming everybody back, but I like to welcome Mr. Gregory back. His tour of duty and overseas.
Thank you very much. We do all appreciate you.
Major.
I have a question.
Welcome back.
Yes, is new increases being discussed today? I don't know if I've missed it or if it wasn't put on the agenda. This is Gary Kihara.
Yes, we've already gone through the increases earlier in the meeting.
Okay, our company's increase was not submitted. I'm not sure how it was missed.
We can check on it after the meeting. You can give me your phone number, or I guess you can email me, or you can send a chat on here, and I can get back with you after the meeting.
Okay. How do I chat?
for, you can send me an email. It's at Carolyn, CAROLYN .Lazenby, LAZENBY @tn.gov.
Okay. Carolyn.lazenby@tn.gov. Okay, I'll send it to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to board updates. Carolyn?
Yes, I think I sent you all out our current balance right now. For contractors, it's 202,548. I'm sure this is before cost backs have hit us for the month, so I'm sure it'll go down by next month. And then our balance with LLE and LLP is 81,842. Our reserves are still around 4.5 million. As far as the things going on, we did put the exam contract back out for bid, and PSI was awarded the contract, so they will continue to be our testing vendor. And then on legislations and rules update, there was some legislation that passed for electrical contractors. It wasn't part of our law, but it does affect electrical contractors, and the fire marshal's office will be sending out a email to all the licensed electrical contractors to give you an update on it. And then Liz wants to talk to you about the rules for the upcoming rules for the residential continuing education.
So the rules are moving along. They were filed with the Secretary of State in April, and they will be effective at our next. So the effective date should be our actual board meeting of July 27th, 2021. So that'll be something to celebrate on that day if they pass GovOps.
Okay, and the next board meeting will be in Nashville, again in person. We hope all board members can be present at that meeting. It'll be July the 27th and Wednesday the 28th. It looks like tentatively where there may be some formal hearings. The September 28th meeting will probably try to procure a place in Gatlinburg for that meeting. So if you can make plans accordingly to that. Any other business to come before the board? Not, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Motion.
Meeting is adjourned.
Where's Rutledge, Tennessee? It's near 9.